Hey, good afternoon, YouTube. Thanks for coming back to the channel and checking things out. Got some more updates. Working on the car again. My garage is a disaster area right now, so you know, it is what it is. I don't have room for stuff. You already know that. Anyway, got some exciting news. We got some new parts in, and we're getting ready to work on our install and everything. Let me show you what we got going on right here. If you guys will look real close, you'll notice that we got Mr. Smartwire module here. This guy right here. This is what I'm going to be using to control pretty much everything in the car. You know, you see that I've got my board laid out here just a little bit, kind of where I'm going to be putting everything. It's still kind of a cluster right now, but I got most of the stuff marked and figured out. I got a couple more small things to put on here. But aside from that, you kind of see what's going on with all of this stuff right here. So let's go back to Mr. Smartwire here. Why am I going with Mr. Smartwire instead of a relay board? Well, for a few reasons. Number one, this guy eliminates a lot of stuff. He eliminates fuses, he eliminates relays. This guy can talk to some of my other components like my ignition if I need it to. I'm going to be using it as a standalone unit though, just to control all of my other stuff in the car. But what's really cool about this versus a relay is when you're using a relay, something like this guy right here, this is for my nitrous system, and yes, it will still be getting used. When you are using something like this, or as you're using something like this to control everything, basically a relay is on or off. That's all it can do is on or off. Now, depending upon the relay, they can be solid state or they can be mechanical. This one's a typical mechanical relay. Nothing fancy about it. It's just a high amperage rating, 75 amp rated. The thing about them is, like I said, they can only be turned on and off. You can't really do a whole lot with them. Now, you can use the relay to control other relays and control other things, but like I said, you know, you've got kind of limited stuff. The biggest issue with these guys is they do fail. They are pretty reliable. Don't get that they're not reliable, and they're still used very widely. They're still very reliable for the most part, but it's a mechanical part. And what happens is every time this relay is activated, the contacts burn just a little bit, you know, from the arcing when it goes back and forth. And depending upon how bad it gets, eventually you're not going to have any continuity between the main two terminals, or you'll have a lot of resistance in there and your stuff may not work right. Fix for it, replace the relay. These things can go bad. The magnets in them can go bad and it not go on at all. It can short out and go bad. So they do fail. Now, like I said, they're reliable and they can run for a long, long time, but they're just something else to fail on the car. These guys right here eliminate these guys for the most part. Now this here, in order to handle as much current as I have here, I would have to connect two outputs on this together. And yes, they could do it, but the two outputs still don't have a high enough amperage rating to run my nitrous stuff, which is why I'm using a separate relay, a very high amp relay. And this isn't something that's used all the time, so a reliability thing is not going to be an issue. But when it comes to this guy, he eliminates fuses, he eliminates relays. Now what's really cool about this thing is when you program it, this, as it sits right here, has 12 inputs and I think it's 30 outputs. Some of those outputs are rated for, it's either 20 or 30 amps, and some of them are rated for like 10 or 20 amps, something like that. I'd have to go back and look at the instructions. But it's got different outputs. If you need more current than one output can provide, you can link two outputs together. And then you go in and just program it and tell it that those two outputs need to turn on at the same time, turn off at the same time. So you can double your current carrying capability by using two outlets. But what's really cool about this is what I can get it to do. So let's say, for example, I have a circuit that shorts out on me. Well, this will see the short because I can program each one of the outputs on this for a certain amount of amperage. It doesn't have to be what it's maxed out at. I could program it for a lower amperage. And when it reaches that threshold, it'll shut off that circuit. But then it also gives me the ability to go back in and tell it to turn that circuit back on and how long it should wait before it does so. And I think I can turn it on again an additional like 100 times. So let's say I have a 10 amp circuit and it short circuits. This sees it, it turns it off. It's going to wait anywhere from, I believe, a half a second to as long as I want it to wait. And then it's going to turn it back on. And if it shorts out again, it's going to do the same thing. And it's going to try that circuit as many times as I program it to, up to, I think, 100 times. I got the ability to go in here and look at that and see a fault in there and say, okay, that's why, you know, that component wasn't working. It's something's overamped on it. So it gives me some diagnostic abilities. But what's really cool is you can use all different kinds of stuff to turn the outputs on. And you can set the conditions under which those outputs turn on. So a good example would be like for my water pump on the engine. I can have a switch on the dashboard, or I can tell this, I can hook this up to a sensor on the engine and say when the water temperature gets up to a certain point, let's just say 150 degrees, it'll turn the water pump on. And then when the water temperature drops down to say 130 degrees, it'll turn the water pump off. And it can sit there and cycle the water pump on and off based upon that temperature sensor to maintain a steady water temperature with my engine. I can tell it to turn the fan on at a given temperature using that same sensor, and then turn it off at a given temperature, again using that same sensor. So there's a lot of different ways I can program this. I can tell it to turn the circuit on when only certain conditions are met based upon operating the car, and I can tell them to turn it off once one of those conditions goes away. Again, one of these guys, it's on or off. It's basically, you have to tell it to turn on with a switch. You turn it off when the switch is open. This guy right here, he can do the same thing, powering up the components. You can turn it on or turn it off, or you can turn it on and off based on certain criteria and within certain ranges. So it offers some more flexibility on what it can do and how it does it. And the cool part about that, again, is this replaces all of your fuses, it replaces your relays, and it gives you a chance to have diagnostic ability. You got ability to go in and program the car and have it turn things on based on different conditions, and they're just really, really cool. There's another YouTuber out there. His name is Devin Vanderhoof. He's a professional car wirer guy, if you want to call him that. He also races. He does plumbing and professional electrical work on drag race cars and other stuff. Go and watch one of his videos on this thing, and he kind of lays it out, everything that it does and how to program it and everything else. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description, and you can check that out if you want. But these things they're pretty awesome. Now, they've been around for a while, a long time. I haven't used one until now because I've been using a good old tried and true relay board. And if you remember my last video, I talked about Nitrous Dave's relay boards. They're inexpensive, they're reliable. I've never had any problems with it. It's fairly compact, fits in a lightweight, or it's lightweight, fits at a tight space, but it has some issues. It's not potted, so if something gets up underneath of it, metallic, and touches it, it can short it out. And the tray itself, or the plate itself that it's made on, is pretty flexible, so you need to have a fairly solid mounting point in order for it to work. This guy here, cast aluminum housing, pretty durable. I ordered some mounting feet for it, so it's not bolted directly to my plate. It's actually going to be stood off the plate about like so. But that's going to allow me to be able to run wires underneath it if I need to as well, and keep things nice and tidy. But it's just a better way to do things now. It's got one input right here for power. This is coming off your main power. This would be a battery supply off a master switch. So, you know, when you kill a master switch, you kill this too. But this also has another feature on it. There's one of the connections in here, and I don't remember which plug it's in. It has the ability to kill this thing completely when it sees a certain condition on that wire. And I'm going to hook that up too, because when this thing goes dead, everything goes dead. So it'll be controlling everything on the car pretty much, with the exceptions of the nitrous relays, or the nitrous solenoids, which I'm controlling with this, simply because of amperage output, or amperage requirements, not output. But anyway, I just wanted to update you guys on that. Going to be doing some more work today on the motor plate, or not the motor plate, but the deflector plate and the dash, and working on getting those cut out. They're mostly traced. I just got to cut them out now and mark them to be bent, and that's what we're going to work on. And so I'll have some more updates here coming pretty soon. It's coming along. The wiring is going to start taking place now that I have everything that I need for the wiring. I just have to figure out some other stuff and start working on it. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Share this with all your friends. Get it out there a little bit, and be more progress on the car here pretty soon. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Have a great day.